This is an introduction to OD Circlify. So just like the name says, it circlifies either a polygon, a collection of edges, or points. So in this particular case, we have a cylinder that we beveled in, and if we want to make this now a circle, we just basically select the poly. Has to have more than or 4 or more polys. We select it and we hit OD Circlify. We have a couple different options. You'll have to experiment with a couple different modes, but the default is typically the same. Now by default, it measures what basically the average distance of the circle is, and uses that as a radius. Or you can, if you want to work very precisely, you can say you want to have a 10 centimeter hole, for example, and then it'll make a 10 centimeter circle. But by default, if you just leave it as is, it will just make a circle. And basically the lengths between the edges between the points is exactly the same. If we go back and we turn the on circle on, all it will do, it'll basically move these points in until they are on a circle, but it'll not necessarily make the edges in between them evenly. So in this case, it will be like this, and we can scale it down. You'll see all these points are actually still on a circle, and there's some situations where you might want this specific result, but most of the time you're really just going to use as a default and just let it do its job. This also works, for example, in things like obviously off axis. So when we have an object here where we have these points that are kind of arranged, and let's say the circle here, the center circle, you want it to be just a circle. So you can either select the poly, or we'll do something different here where we'll just select the edges, and we'll just do Circlify, and you'll now see that this makes it a perfect circle. And so the nice thing about that is that you can now rearrange all these other circles, select them all one by one, and basically circlify them, and then you have a nice even subdivision between them. And that's basically it for that tool. It should be a nice little workflow helper, and specifically if you bevel a lot and work with n-gons, this will really help you a lot.